On the next example, we have something similar. Rather than a 2D star, this time we have a 3D star. To construct this 3D star, we have to use the same method. However, this time, to give the star a 3D effect, we have to connect the corners of the pentagon to its center. So firstly, let's start by drawing the 2D star first. So, same as we did before, let's connect the topmost corner to the two corners it is facing on the base, the lower right corner to the upper left, the two top corners together, and the upper right with the lower left. Now let's draw the lines which go from the corners of the pentagon to the center. Now, to help me a little bit and not get confused, I'm going to lighten a bit these midlines over here. So I'm going to leave them visible, but just erase them a little bit, okay, to lighten them up. And now let's connect each corner, each outer and inner corner of the star to the center. And we're going to be doing this by connecting the outer corner, passing it through the center of the star, and then connecting it to the other corner it is facing. Let's do the same with the other corners. So in this case, we have the inner corner to the center and then the outer. Continue the same way. And now let's darken all the lines which belong to this star shape. However, remember that the construction lines have to be left light, okay? Visible, however light. Here you are only to darken the outlines and the inner lines which give this star a 3D effect. Now let's shade this star in the assigned color. In this case, we have a light blue. A quick tip to help you while shading: it's always ideal to keep your strokes only in one direction. This way your work will appear much more neater and realistic. And now we're going to be constructing a regular hexagon by the use of a compass. To start, first we're going to need the baseline already finished for us. So that's our baseline. And now what we're going to do, basically, as we can see on the left-hand side, is first draw this circle, and we're going to draw and inscribe the hexagon. So first, to draw the circle, first we need to open the compass at a radius which is equal to the length of the base. So let's open the compass, needle in one end, pencil on the other, and now let's construct an arc near to the midsection of your baseline, and then intersect it with another arc on the other side. Now that's going to be the center of our circle. Now let's connect the center of the hexagon to the two edges or 2 points on your baseline. Now let's take our compass again. Make sure that you have not altered the radius of your compass. If you have, make sure that you open it to a radius the same length as your baseline. Now place your compass at the center of your circle, and then hold your compass from the knob and then draw your circle. Alright, now that's the first step. So now we have our circle. Now let's work on the sides. Now take your compass with the same radius as before. Place it on one end of the line and then construct an arc and make sure that it intersects your circle. There you go, that's one arc. Now let's place the needle once again, but this time on the arc which intersected your circle. And then from there, construct another arc. Now let's place the compass needle on the second arc that we have drawn. And from there, let's draw another. Once again, intersecting the circumference of our drawn circle. Let's repeat. Needle on the third arc. Construct an arc. Needle on the fourth arc. Construct an arc. And the sixth arc should intersect the first point where we have constructed our first arc. Now each of these intersections, so each intersection represents a corner of our hexagon. So all we have to do now is to connect each intersection with the one next to it. So let's connect intersection number 1 with intersection number 2. Then let's repeat the steps. Point number 2 with point number 3. Intersection 3 with intersection 4. Now let's connect the fourth intersection with the fifth. And then the fifth with the sixth. And there you go, that is our constructed hexagon. However, now we have to darken once again the outlines to make our hexagon show up more. Now, of course, when constructing a hexagon with a compass, please leave your construction lines visible, okay? It's always important, so I will be able to see your working. Before darkening, however, make sure that all sides of this hexagon are equal. If they aren't, then please redo your arcs. You could have by accident altered the radius of your compass. Now let's move on to the next example. In the next example, we have a hexagon resting on one of its corners, and we have to construct a sort of star-like shape inside the hexagon. Now, as you could see, this star is sort of made up of two equilateral triangles facing opposite to each other. So one is upright and the other is upside down. So that's what we're going to do here. So let's start by connecting the upper left corner with the lowest corner on this hexagon. Let's do the same with the upper right and connect it to the lowest corner. And now let's connect the upper right with the upper left corner. So that's one triangle. Now let's construct the other one. Let's connect the topmost corner to the lower left. Then the topmost corner to the lower right corner. And now let's connect the lower left corner with the lower right, always by using construction lines. And now let's darken our final answer. Moving on to the next hexagon, this time we have a 3D star rather than a 2D. We have something similar as we've already worked on. This time we have the corners being connected to the center of the hexagon. So let's start constructing this star by using the same method as before in the 2D star. So let's repeat those steps. Now, since I'm using a darker pencil, I'm going to lighten up the inner lines of this star. I'm not going to erase the lines completely, I'm just going to lighten them up a little bit. If you're using a lighter pencil, then it's fine, you'll just leave them where they are, okay? Now we're going to be connecting each corner, so let's connect one corner to the one it's facing. Just make sure that the constructed line passes through the center of your hexagon. Now this counts for the outer corners and the inner corners of this star shape. Now let's darken the outlines and the inner lines of this star shape. And last of all, don't forget to shade the proper sides of the star to give it a 3D effect. Now we're going to be constructing octagons. We're going to construct our first octagon from a square. Now, as you can see, this is formed from two diagonal lines crossing each other and then intersecting arcs. Now let's start step by step. Now let's start by drawing the crossing diagonal lines. When these two lines intersect, you would find the center of this square. Now let's move on to the arcs. To draw the arcs, or to construct the arcs, you're going to open your compass the same radius from one corner to the center of this square. Then hold your compass from its knob and then construct an arc. And it is important for this arc to touch the sides of your square, because wherever the arc and the sides intersect, that's going to be one corner, or in this case two corners, of your octagon. With one arc, you would find two corners of the octagon. Continue the same with all four corners of your square. Okay, now let's do the last one. Make sure that the compass is always passing through the center of your square. Now let's connect the intersections one after the other. So let's start with the baseline of the octagon. Then let's continue with the angled line. Then continue the same way. Connect one intersection with the one next to it. And now let's darken the outlines. On the next exercise, all we have to do is to construct those arcs. So, same as we did before, open the compass at a radius of from one corner of the square to the center of the square. Then draw your arc from one corner to the other one opposite to it. Let's do the same. Keep the compass with the same radius and then draw your arc from corner to corner. Now let's darken the arcs by going over the previous arcs. Then you're going to shade the sections on the angled sides with the assigned color. In this case, the assigned color is green. Lastly, we're going to be constructing a Maltese cross from an octagon. So we have our octagon with the diagonal lines already finished for us. And we're going to continue by connecting the corners which are found on the angled lines of the octagon to the ones that they are facing. So let's connect this corner to the one it's facing. Do the same on the other corner. And let's repeat the same steps, on the other angled sides. And now this time, these lines are going to be intersecting each other. They're going to cross over each other. Alright, now let's start to construct the long diagonal lines of the cross. So this time we're connecting the corners, so one corner to the one it is facing. This time we're connecting corners rather than the edges of the sides. Now this cross has an additional line to make it look like the Maltese flag. So let's connect this inner corner of the cross to the other one it's facing. Alright, now let's darken the outlines of the cross and then shade the right hand side in red.